Good morning, everyone. My name is Devanshu, and I am pursuing my Bachelor of Technology in Petroleum Engineering from Indian School of Mines, IIT ISM Dhanbad. And I have completed my secondary and senior secondary education from St. Anthony Senior Secondary School, which is affiliated to Central Board of Secondary Education. And if I talk about my teaching philosophy, then my teaching philosophy is quite simple. I make students learn through daily life examples. I ask them to collect examples from daily life as much as they can and try to relate them to our concepts. So, without wasting any time, let's come on our first topic, that is porosity. What is porosity? Porosity is simply volume of voids divided by total volume into 100. Now, what is volume of voids? Void means empty. So, the volume of empty spaces, that will be void volume, that will be pore volume. And what is total volume? Total volume is the volume comprised of empty spaces plus the space which is filled up by a solid matrix. Suppose we are in a room and there are lots and lots of cupboards in the room. Cupboards are solid, so that will be they'll be comprising a matrix volume, and the space between the cupboard, that is empty, that will be comprising of void volume. That will be comprising of pore. That will be comprising of void volume, which we also call as pore volume. So this is a daily life example of a room and cupboards and empty spaces, which I'm trying to relate them to porosity. Now let's move on to types of porosity. Porosity is of two types: primary porosity and secondary porosity. What is primary porosity? Primary porosity is the porosity which is there from the beginning of time. The porosity which was there during the time from the porosity which is there from the time of deposition itself. The porosity which is there itself without without applying any external force. Like we are not applying any external force or external factor, and the porosity which is there without applying any external force or factor, that is primary porosity. What is secondary and primary porosity is of two types. That is intergranular porosity and intragranular porosity. What is intergranular porosity? Suppose there is a rock, and the rock is composed of thousands and thousands of grains. So the porosity which is going to be there between two grains is known as intergranular porosity. And what is intragranular porosity? The second type of primary porosity. Intragranular porosity means porosity on the grain itself. The porosity which will be there on a single grain itself. That is known as intragranular porosity. Intra meaning same itself. Now let's see our second topic. That is now see the second aspect of this topic, that is secondary porosity. Secondary porosity is the porosity which is created later on, which is created by applying external force, which is created by applying external factors. That is secondary porosity. And if I talk about a common example of secondary porosity, that will be fracturing. In fracturing, we are applying force, we are creating fractures, we are using external force to create empty spaces. So pore volume is getting created, void volume is getting created, but due to external factors. That is secondary porosity. That means applying external force or factors, which is not there from the beginning of time, which is not there from the deposition itself, which we created later on. That is secondary porosity. Now let's come on our next topic, that is permeability. What is permeability? Suppose between two grains, there are pore spaces, and pore spaces connect, and one pore space is connected to another pore space, another created to another one. So that is and if we connect these pore spaces and allow fluid to flow through them, that accounts for permeability. Permeability is of two types: high permeability and low permeability. So if we talk about high permeability means large large pore volumes and large spaces connected in a very good network, and flow is flowing through them smoothly in a very easy pattern and in a very easy manner. That accounts for high permeability. What accounts for low permeability? Pore sizes are small, pores are not connected properly, the interconnection is poor, and the flow cannot flow easily. That accounts for low permeability. Permeability is directly dependent and directly proportional to the connection of two pores. And if we try to express permeability, then we can say that that permeability is expressed through Darcy and Millie Darcy, and these concepts were invented by scientist Henry Darcy, who pioneered the study of fluid flow in porous media. Permeability is of three types. That is Darcy permeability, or we can call it as absolute permeability, and the relative permeability, and the third one is effective permeability. What is Darcy permeability? Darcy permeability is a measure of how easily fluid can flow through a porous medium under the influence of a pressure gradient. What is relative permeability? Relative permeability is a dimensionless quantity. It indicates the permeability of a particular phase like oil, water, gas. So we take the aspect of a particular phase and try to understand it with respect of total permeability when multiple phases are present. So the porosity which will be there due to one phase in a multi-phase system. The porosity which will be there of one, the porosity of one phase, the porosity due to one phase in a multi-phase system. That is relative permeability. It is a dimensionless quantity. What is effective permeability? Effective permeability accounts for the impact of different fluid saturations on overall permeability. The segment of overall permeability, which we are calculating with the use of individual fluid saturation, is known as effective permeability. Saturation can be oil saturation, that will be denoted by SO. Saturation can be water saturation, that will be denoted by SW, and saturation will be gas saturation, that will be denoted by SG. So the porosity due to individual saturation on the overall permeability, that will be called as effective permeability. So let's end today's session, and I would like to say thank you to all of you for listening me. And the teaching assessment which I love to follow is that I make students, that I told initially also, I make students understand through daily life examples by correlating the daily life examples with the exam with our topics. So that is my teaching assessment. Thank you.